Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. So, we're going to give everybody just a few minutes to come into the room. While people are coming into the room, I want to thank my patrons. A special thank you to my VIP patrons for supporting my content. Thank you all so much. Thank you to everyone that is subscribed. If you are not subscribed, make sure you go ahead and click that subscribe link button below. Also, hoodie season is upon us. So if you would like one of these fabulous hoodies or would like to purchase one for your loved ones, that link is also below in my description box. All right, y'all. So happy Tuesday. People are gonna slowly start coming into the room. Hey King BJ. Hey Muhammad. So we're gonna let people come on in. We're gonna talk about a couple of different things tonight. Something that I've noticed here recently is that apparently Chris Rock, the comedian, the entertainer, recently tweeted about how he has COVID. Now, if you know anything about some of the first entertainers that were jumping to get the vaccination, Chris Rock was definitely in that number. Now he is tweeting that, he has COVID. This is something you really don't want. So make sure you get vaccinated so you don't get it. Now, if this is supposed to be like a ad campaign or inspiring people to get the vaccination, I don't know if it's seeming to work for you guys, but for me, I would say that I don't find that very motivational that some of the first people that rushed out to get the vaccines are now making public announcements that they are dealing so horribly, you know, with COVID. So I just think that's very interesting. Entertainers are not leaders. Teas are also available in my link below. Cheap plug right there. There you go. Um, but yeah, it's a lot going on. Obviously, now you got Nelly, the rapper, out here, doing this Burger King ad. You got the Travis Scott meal. You got the Sweetie meal. You have all these, musicians signing on to do these fast food advertisements and campaigns in the middle of a pandemic where it has been reported over and over and over and over and over again. And this has been globally, okay, by different sources, that obesity is one of the biggest factors in being hospitalized by COVID. And what do your entertainers do during that time? They go on to market you more unhealthy things and more unhealthy lifestyles. And, I think it's a little concerning, but I think it's a little interesting too. And it shows you where some of these people's actual priorities lay. I saw something come across my Instagram like yesterday, and it was actually really good. And it was some type of like barbershop type feel production. I don't know the show. If y'all know the show, let me know in the chats. I know it had Chad Ochocinco on there. I think that's probably the only person there I was actually familiar with by name. But you had these different, fairly young, maybe like 30s to late 40s black men talking about, one guy was making this joke about how he was eating his cake and saying how so many of his family members have lost a foot to diabetes. And he just goes on to talk about it so casually. And the other guy in the room was like, dude, like, this is not the way, and y'all know it's not the way, and people keep trying to pretend it's the way and overlook that it's not the way and talk yourself around it and through it and everything else, right? Instead of having these very truthful conversations about food, health, diet, and how these things are affecting us on a generational basis, affecting our families, affecting a lot. Okay? Every few weeks we have another, uh, uh, whether it's somebody in TV and film, a black man in his late 40s, early 50s that are passing. Most likely, a lot of these are due to health issues or drug issues. Okay, two very important things to take care of is yourself physically and emotionally. These are people that I'm certain are very important, you know, to their families. You can't put your physical and emotional health on the back burner. And it would seem that if we haven't learned that at any other time, 2020 coming into 2021 would have definitely been the best way to learn that. But how you don't learn that is when you have a government, when you have Hollywood that is insistent on putting a band-aid, okay, putting a band-aid on deep wounds. Deep wounds. You cannot inject healthiness uh uh into your veins by inoculation. That's not how it works. It's a very long term trajectory of very healthy practices over time, right? And by doing these things, implementing these things, not only are they important to us, but they can also be very important and influential to our families. So we can't keep putting a band-aid on these things. We can't keep trying to not talk about these things. Something that I noticed, and I'm just telling y'all in my own personal experience, but every single person that has come at me about any of my opinions and even the facts that I have presented as it relates to the pandemic last year, the vaccinations, and all these other things, okay? The people that have come to said the like some of the nastiest things to me, the people that have tried to be more authoritative in their talking to me and addressing me, I'm miles ahead of them as far as health and fitness. Like just not even trying to be funny, like all out legit. So this whole moral superiority of I feel like I can talk to you any kind of way because you know I took this vaccination or I'm doing this for the betterment of the world, and you're not even doing what you need to do to be taking care of yourself. And of course, I wouldn't say that like that to people, but sometimes some things need to be said. It needs to be said, okay? Um, so we need to get back to prioritizing individual health. Individual health is very important, okay? Individual as it relates to our diet, fitness, and everything else, medicine, um, and to quote unquote be in a pandemic, I do not think these things have been talked about holistically enough, and we've really just tried to just graze over these things. Um, so but anyway, I just wanted to throw that little tidbit in there, inspired by your boy Chris Rock. But all right, y'all. So let's go ahead and jump right into tonight's topic because you probably have not seen this on your mainstream news. You probably haven't seen this on your urban media sites. You probably haven't even seen this on the Black Lives Matter global network, any of their social media handles, or anything like this. Now, I don't know how long it has to be before we stop pretending that Black Lives Matter, the global network, hasn't virtually disappeared right into thin air after the election, okay? And after Joe Biden's presidency, just poof, just, whatever, gone. If you go to any of the Black Lives Matter social media networks, the global network, they're mostly talking about old cases, like history type stuff. And I'm just like, very interesting. Very interesting. A lot of us said this would happen last year, and here we are. Some of the biggest protests that I've seen in my lifetime, okay, that were not just even relegated to just the United States, but had spread across the globe. I mean, no more. No, I don't know what's going on. But interestingly enough, okay, Black Lives Matter, the local chapter in NYC, is going on to protest this restaurant over its mandates. So let's go ahead and take a look at this, and we're going to talk about a couple of different reasons, okay, why this is so interesting. Let me make sure. Let me make sure y'all can see this. Okay, so this is according to the New York Post. Carmen's releases new footage of attack on staff amid BLM protests targeting eatery. Black Lives Matter protesters marched on famed New York diner Carmen's late Monday as the owner released new footage of the wild attack on his staff that he insisted had nothing to do with racism. Council Carmine chanted the large group, many wearing Black Lives Matter New York t-shirts as they descended on the famed Upper West Side eatery late Monday. Come on, Black folks, you seen what they did to us, one ringleader shouted outside the restaurant where three Black Texas tourists were arrested Thursday for assaulting an Asian American hostess. Of course, right? Asian American hostess who refused to allow three of the group inside without proof they had coronavirus vaccines. Bemused diners watched as a loud group continued shouting abuse just inches from staff as they crowded around the entrance chanting shame for them to leave. Shame, shame, shame. Somebody gonna get the reference. Videos posted on social media show. The protesters accused the restaurant of putting Black staff out front, even though the trio hurt in the brawl were also people of color. The restaurant said, last week, there was a racist hostess standing right here, y'all. BLM New York leader Hawk Newsom yelled through a loudspeaker, repeating unfounded claims made by the arrested tourist lawyer. She was nasty to Black people, he said, repeating the lawyer's claims that the fight started when the hostess used the N word rather than her abiding by New York law and requesting proof of vaccines. So the New York Post goes on to talk about this. You guys have most likely saw the video. Hey to everybody coming into the room. So let's take a look at This is according to Black Lives Matter page on Instagram. Today we are here for Black women, the most unprotected, the most disrespected, and most neglected person in this nation is the Black woman. Having a doctorate does not prevent you from anti-Blackness. Having a vaccination card does not stop you from discrimination. The 1964 Rights Act prohibits the actions of Carmine. It says it's illegal to discriminate against people on the basis of race. I'm disgusted by the narrative that Carmine has created. Now everyone today in their new press release had a vaccination card. Remember, these Black women who profess Okay, okay, okay. I think y'all get what's going on there. I think y'all see pretty much what's happening. So you had people that showed up to the restaurant there to protest. I'm not exactly sure how many people that were there protesting. I guess, maybe a few dozen, hundreds or whatever. Um Now, why I find this particularly interesting is because this is going on and not very much is being said at this point. You have a couple of media sites that have picked this story up, but it's very slim. Now, why I think that's particularly interesting is first of all because Black Lives Matter was all the rave. Just last year, they were able to soak up a lot of media time. But if I had to guess, and we'll see what happens in the next maybe 24 to 72 hours. But if I had to guess, a big reason why they aren't picking up this story is because they don't want it to look like, nor for it to get confused that Black Lives Matter is protesting actual vaccine mandates, okay? Even with this, and at some point I just be thinking, maybe it'll click. Maybe it'll click for people, but I don't know. Okay. So supposedly this lady presented her vaccine mandate, her vaccine passport, or yeah, her vaccine passport to the restaurant. And this is according to the story from the restaurant. The restaurant didn't believe that it was real. At some point, a argument ensued. The Asian staff allegedly used the N word. Okay, a brawl broke out, and it went from there. Okay. So now you have Black Lives Matter coming in to protest the treatment of this woman and her being called the N word. Now, where the discussion really doesn't go far enough is the fact that when you increase mandates, you increase the chances for hostility. You increase the chances for discrimination. You increase the chances for authoritarianism. But this is the discussion. This is the deeper discussion that people don't really want to have, because then it's like, oh well, you anti vaccine. I just posted this like last week on Instagram and on Twitter, and it did pretty well. It got like, pretty good interactions and stuff like that. And I'm like, I wonder, do people know if it's possible to be pro vaccine and anti mandate? Okay. When you create more mandates, you create more laws, you are creating and aiding the environment of coercion and force. You are voting for that. You are betting for that. You wanted that. I feel like I've been talking about this for at least a year now, particularly in a place like New York City, where we have had the displeasure of seeing some of the worst police and citizen interactions. And now and now you're going to mandate something and put that power in the hands of the freaking Walmart greeter, the Karen that works at the restaurant. And so now I'm really wondering, will you have anybody on a national scale, Hollywood, media, Black Lives Matter supporters, Black Lives Matters, global network, that will make the connection and put two and two together, even support this local chapter? Will this local chapter expand and support people who don't have the freaking, what if you don't have a vaccine passport, being discriminated against? It's still discrimination. Still discrimination. When you tell healthy people that they have to do this medical procedure and they decide not to do it, they use their freedom of choice, and now they're not allowed to sit in a restaurant, when we know the data says that people that are vaccinated can still receive and spread the same freaking virus. Still discrimination. And so now you have this happening. We'll see how big this gets, or what or what's happening with it. Another interesting part is now you have the people of color against people of color thing going on here, okay? Um you have the restaurant owner saying, "Oh, we can't, can't be racism because it was an Asian host, and this and the other." And this is another thing that happens in racial tensions that are exacerbated when you have a group of POC that you just try to throw into the pot, and everybody's fighting over scraps and trying to win brownie points. So the whole POC thing has always been just a facade that has really, in a lot of ways, been pushed on us by politicians to work in their favor. It's not wrong. It's not wrong for people to have their own interests. That's not wrong. It does not make people inherently bad. Now, what does make you inherently bad is if you use your interest to impose violence on others. When you take that interest and manipulate it into force or evilness or violence or hate. But this whole, POC brigade, and it's just hand holding and kumbaya and this and the other. And then the same politicians that told you that, look at the freaking border now. Look at what's happening. Look at the different treatment when you put Haitians, Afghans, and people coming from Central America. So, like I said, I doubt this will get picked up. I doubt this will go very far because, as y'all see, the Black Lives Matter protesters there were talking about, protect black women, this and the other. But I don't think just, people seem to care about that as much as they did last year. Okay. That's why when you have Nicki Minaj that will say an opinion, ask a question, or anything like that, you will have droves of people jumping down her throat. You will have people disrespecting her, coming for her, saying such negative things about her. It's like you only deserve protection when you fit into this box, when you say what we want you to say, when you say these talking points, when you stay within these lines that we've drawn for you. Then that's when you get all the cute hashtags. Oh, protect black women, my body, my choice. You get all the cute hashtags relegated for you. But when you step outside of the box, it's now protect who? Who said that? Who said that? Who said that? Now you have, I think that show is called The Real or something like that. They're gonna be doing a segment coming up this week with Nicki Minaj's husband's accuser. I don't know all the freaking details about that story, and I haven't looked into it with her husband. And he was allegedly or convicted of molestation when he was younger. This was like, I don't even know how long ago or whatever. And but anyway, the talk show is going to be inviting his accuser on there. And I'm like, that's interesting. That's funny. Y'all haven't brought on some well-known accusers onto these talk shows in a while. I thought Believe All Women had disappeared for a moment. And I just find the timing, it's just a little curious. It's just a little interesting. Okay. People have been this, I mean, it's been known his background since they've been dating. And it's been like a couple years now. And literally the week after everybody turned into attack dogs to attack Nicki Minaj, now all of a sudden they just so curious about her husband's accuser. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. Let's just keep it real. The media attacks are so strong, and don't get me wrong, like I said, I do not know all the ins and outs. I have not looked into and researched that story to see what happened with him. I can only go off what I've heard, which is, I think it was counts of molestation or something like that, right? um However, to ignore the media attacks, two things can be true at once. Whether you wanted that story or not, to ignore the timing, to ignore the attacks that have been put on this woman, to ignore all of these mainstream media networks that have gone on to lie about her, people threatening her and her family, being kicked off Twitter. Somebody said, have y'all noticed Nicki Minaj got kicked off Twitter faster than the Taliban? Like what? Like, it's a very strong, man. It's a very strong agenda out here. And it's a horrible, horrible, horrible precedent to set. It's a horrible precedent to set. And when you have anything, even the so called truth that can't be challenged, like how can you know it's the truth? We are ever evolving and learning people. We should be able to challenge. We should be able to ask questions. We should be free to be non believers if we want to. I mean, that's what I learned in fifth grade. What they call it class, US history. Something about this whole experiment starting because of seeking freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom from tyranny, and through all these taxes. That part didn't last long. Taxation. But like, we have the freedom to be wrong and the freedom to grow and the freedom to, like I said, ask questions. And we are in a deep mess, man. We are in a very deep mess when they are trying to make that not the case. We have to remember that, like, many of the people that have been remembered in time, written about in the history books, some of your heroes, some of your political and historical heroes were not always popular in their time. Not to mention, particularly as it relates to Black American history, I got the freaking right to not trust this government, to not trust the doctors, to not trust any of it. I have that right. And it's not like when I turn on the TV and people are talking to me in such a condescending way. People are ditching all the talking points and the hashtags they just had last year. They literally just told me a year ago, 2 years ago, that the KKK doctors were trying to kill Black women in the maternity wards. Now it's, oh, well, forget that. Take that out of your program, your social program. And we didn't really mean it like that. You know what I'm saying? But trust the science, trust your doctor. And I do think you should trust your doctor after building a relationship and building a rapport with your doctor. The doctors on TV are not my doctor. The doctors on TV don't know my medical history. They don't know anything about my body. They've never seen my x-rays. They don't know about anything dealing with me independently. There's never been a time in history that medicine has been one size fits all. Is there any immunity? No, not for you. Yes, for the manufacturers. Right? So these are just all things, These are just all things to consider, and it's a very, very, very personal thing. And I think I believe that people on each side have their reasons. People have their reasons. You know what I mean? You have some people that's in a very tight predicament where their job is saying, look, it's either this or hit the road. And, you know, people have their reasons or for whatever that may be. But like I said, it's very personal. It's very personal. And when we get to a time in history when we overlook that, when we try to negate that, when we try to be hostile to people who understand this is very personal, it's problematic. It's very problematic. But anyway, so we'll see. We'll see what happens with this story. My suspicions is that it's going to fizzle out because I don't think, we've talked about this before. As I am really cool with the guy who has the Black Lives Matter, Jafar, Black Lives Matter 757 down there in Virginia. And you do have some of these local chapters that kind of do their own thing and they're still active and stuff, just like throughout the year. But then the media just usually what happens is between the Black Lives Global Network, okay? Because y'all remember I did a story where 10 local Black Lives Matter chapters were like, yo, like, where's our money? Like, what's up with y'all? Y'all tripping. Okay. So they've called them out. And so what I believe to be happening is a lot of money is funneling to the top. A lot of attention is funneling to the top. That's where you have your agendas, and then you have your media that they don't give a crap and they just pick and choose when they're going to use these stories, right? And push the Black Lives Matter Global Network to pick up some of these stories. And that's usually around election time. Okay. Okay. So probably be expecting to see them again in 2022, 2024. All right then. But yeah, so we'll see what happens with the Black Lives Matter New York chapter. We'll see how long this story sticks, where it goes, if they actually expand their message to be one of actual freedom and freedom of choice. And so yeah. All right, so moving on to the border crisis. I know that many of you, okay, have heard about this, seen this, what's been going on over here in Texas. So this is according to USA Today. Del Rio migrant crisis. How did so many Haitians end up at the southern border? No, let's read this one. Reuters, White House condemns border guard use of whip-like cord against Haitian migrants. So if you didn't know, for several days now, the migrants at the border has went from about 2,000 to, I believe, upwards of 10,000 people. Okay, the pictures were, downright like, surprising. And I think this is a little video here. We'll come back to the video. So the White House on Monday criticized the use of horse reins to threaten Haitian migrants after images circulated on a U.S. border guard on horseback charging its migrants near a riverside camp in Texas. The mostly Haitian migrants in recent days have been crossing back and forth between Ciudad Aquana, guess that's how you say that, in Mexico, and the sprawling camp across the border in Del Rio to buy food and water, which was in short supply of the U.S. side. Reuters witnesses saw mounted officers wearing cowboy hats, blocking the path of migrants, and of officers unfurling a cord resembling a lariat, which he swung near a migrant's face. A video showing a border guard apparently threatening migrants with the cords was shared on social media. I don't think anyone seeing that footage would think it was acceptable or appropriate. Okay, this is what John Saki told reporters. I don't have the full context. I can't imagine what context would make that appropriate, she added. Some on social media commented that the image of fleeing black men chased by white officers on horseback had echoes of the historical injustices suffered by black people in the United States. U.S. Border Patrol Chief Raul said the incident was being investigated to make sure there was not an unacceptable response by law enforcement. He said officers were operating in a difficult environment, trying to ensure the safety of the migrants while searching for potential smugglers. Department of Homeland Security Alejandro said the long reins are used by mounted officials to ensure control of the horse, but we are going to investigate. So this just goes on to talk about this, how there were over 12,000 migrants. Had it had reached 16,000 by Saturday, 104 degrees, and how they're basically going to be starting to fly them out, okay, as soon as possible on the first thing smoking, right back to Haiti. Now, some of you may have seen those pictures, and I guess it's gonna make me watch the ad because I thought, oh, okay, here they are. So here are some of the pictures that have been circling the internet. Okay, I think that's all of those. There are also pictures where you have, I think it's showing us here, where you have thousands of people. Okay, this is it. So you kind of see what's going on. You have thousands of people that have camped out, okay, on under this bridge in Texas. Now, what very interesting and kind of a little funny is that you had some people that were trying to blame what was going on the governor of Texas, but this agency is a federal agency. So this is absolutely 100% on the Biden administration. Now, there are questions of how did so many of these people even get to this border when they would have been actually closer to Florida and not Texas. Now, I don't know that. I don't have the answers for that. And I don't even know if we're going to get the most truthful answers. The only thing that I could seem to find was, people suggesting, oh, well, they had already traveled to Central America. And then as COVID was getting worse, then you just had 10,000 people that just decided that, oh, we'll just go into the United States today. Okay. That's basically the story that the media is giving us at this time. Is this some, all out plan and conspiracy, and these people were flown or hiked or escorted here, or was it just, a act of God, and people just all of a sudden at one time just felt compelled to just, trek on to Del Rio, Texas? I mean, hey, if I had to guess, but rightfully so, a lot of people have been a lot of people have been outraged by the pictures. Some people are saying, oh, well, they weren't whips, they were reins. And, when I was younger, when I was a child, whether it was a belt or a tree limb, it didn't really matter. Okay, my parents did not whoop me with tree limbs, but I'm just saying, I don't think it would have mattered, okay? Um, however, first of all, this is a federal agency. Second of all, this border thing has been going on for so long now, okay? For so long. Not only do we see in so many ways it being exacerbated during this administration, a lot of people are going to try to ignore it, pretend like it's not happening. I've covered this content before right here. Okay. It was not long ago. I believe this was also in Texas, where you had tons and tons of children in these prison like, okay, facilities. They were being put into overflow facilities that were actually opened during the Trump era, but I think maybe weren't used, or maybe were used at the beginning of the administration, but not used after that. They were put into some of these overflow facilities. You don't have a lot of outrage. You don't have a lot of border protests about this. You don't have uh, kids in cages trending and people hashtagging about it every day like before. Now that this is happening with Haitians, certainly don't think, you are seeing outrage about these pictures, but that's about it. People, it's if the pictures had not included anything with these whips and the reins, I don't think you would have outrage at all. Okay, this has been a growing problem, and you have this very confused. I want to say it's confusing, but it's not confusing. It's confusing to people that don't want to internalize and accept the truth. That's who it's confusing to, okay? I will tell you why other people may find this confusing. Because when you have a Joe Biden and a Kamala Harris who get on national debate stages, they get on these platforms and talk about how inherently evil walls are, right? Immigration laws. America is just a free for all. Just come on in, and we will see that you have your way to the American dream. Of course, they're going to tell you that while they're on the political campaign, and a huge portion of their voters are a part of the POC brigade. Of course, they're going to tell you that while they're on the campaign trail. And then they turn around and get in office. Kamala Harris says, do not come. Do not come. Do not come. We will send you back. Do not come. And then she practically disappears. So I could see how that could seem pretty confusing to somebody that just taps in here and there. And it's like, dang, I thought y'all were like pro-life. No, man, we still got to, answer to the donors and you know, we still got to toe this line. You believe that? Yeah, what Kamala Harris said at the time? She said, it was a debate. And she does that laugh that she does. She's full on admitted. She's literally admitted, hey, there are certain things I will say because it's a debate. It doesn't mean that I care anything about it. Doesn't mean that I'm going to stick to it. Doesn't mean that I have any morals as it relates to this. I just said it, because it's a debate, and I need to win the favor of the millions of people at home that are going to watch this, but when I get in office, not going to give a crap, not going to pay attention, going to tune out, going to go to sleep or whatever. So now, as you have people from Afghan coming here, being flown here as refugees, okay, being given special benefits and special treatment, and then even with the Latino population, I do not believe we've seen any previous pictures that would lead us to believe that they've been treated this way. Um, but those Haitians, you got to go, okay? We giving you first class right back to Haiti. And so, it's kind of a recurring theme here. A lot of the time that I took being committed to and diligent to explaining people some of explaining to people some of the things we will be seeing going into 2020. I told you these mandates was going to cause tension, was going to cause more coercion, force, manipulation, everything else. I told you that people wasn't going to give a crap no longer about the border, about this believe all women stuff, unless you speak out about the vaccines, Nicki Minaj and Mr. Petty, okay? But a lot of these things that are said on the campaign trail, and then when it's time to fulfill those campaign promises, the only promises that are fulfilled are to the donors, to the team, to themselves and their pockets, to the groups that will probably actually hold them accountable. Because I mean, like let's just keep it real. Let's just keep it real. Let's just keep it all the way real. This is something that I was thinking about the other day, right? Even as it pertains to the George Floyd Act. When's the last time you heard about that? When's the last time you heard about it? When's the last time somebody mentioned it? When's the last time somebody uttered it? Okay. And don't be bothered by me uttering it now when it was the main topic of discussion last year. I'm talking about we couldn't get away from it. We couldn't get away from it. And now, silence. And so I I believe we're gonna see. I do believe that at some point the George Floyd Act is going to pass. I believe that. Okay. We're going to see what happens. I think they're keeping it in the tuck for when, like, I feel like, they're just keeping it in the tuck, kind of just preparation mode for, like, when the blacks get mad again, we'll boom, hit them with a little George Floyd Act. See what we did? So I do think it's going to happen. I think they're keeping it in the tuck for a little while, but it's way on the back. It's way on the back burner. It's way on the back burner. Not priority like it was last year. We just don't care as much this year. We got COVID. Okay, we got to figure this COVID thing out because we gave y'all Negroes a lot of airtime last year. Okay, let us get some of the Asians and the Afghans and the Latinos. Let us get them straight first. So, I think they're keeping it in the tuck. But like like let's do a little math here. A little math and a little common sense, okay? If a demographic comes out and votes for you at over 90 freaking percent, 90%, and does it gleefully. I'm talking about they walking it out and Supermaning and everything else in the streets, okay? Painting the city red or yellow with the Black Lives Matters logos. Over 90%. If it was you, would you be in a rush? Or as a businessman, a politician, a mathematician, or just somebody with a little common sense, would you try to scoop up the other demographics first that are going to be much more, even when we look in terms of growth of population? Like, this is just, I'm just giving, hey, I'm just talking pure mathematics and numbers here. Pure mathematics and numbers. Abortion rate up, birth rate down, COVID, and then you got people like Sweetie telling you to eat a Big Mac with all the trimmings. I'm gonna get to you when I get to you. You back of the bus. You used to it anyway. I'm sorry, y'all. That was a little inappropriate, but I had to. Okay, you know it was a little funny. But nah, like, just, I mean, like, let's be for real though. Let's be for real, because that's how it's happening. That's like, we see with our own eyes what's happening. I'm not making this up. I'm not lying. I mean, Racist said the Republicans are trying to turn the entire country into California. Mass homelessness and possibly high cost of living, people using drugs and using the bathroom on the street. Sovereignty is extremely important. Thank you, Racer X. This is such a good comment. This is such a good comment. I've been talking about this for a while now. Like, if you pay attention to the direction of California and New York, as far as, I mean, pretty much any like agenda, narrative, policy, you will see the direction that they are trying to move things, right? And I've talked about this several times. If you look at the actual numbers, they will make you believe that California is so diverse and it's so free and it's so happy and it's so it's just this rainbow filled, beautiful place to live. And when you actually look at the quality of life, the numbers of homelessness, the number of homelessness, okay? When you look at the number of the middle class moving the heck out of California, people moving the heck out of California, when you look at the drug rates in California, when you look at the crisis with people being like affordable living and things like that, being able to afford homes, when you look up just the number of people moving out of California in general, and then people try to sell it to us like, oh, it's just this magical, sunny place to live. But when we look at all these key factors, it's like something's not adding up here. And you have to ask yourself, these policies that we see, the things that's going on there, have we seen the proof? Have we seen the numbers to say these are policies that we should apply to the entire country? That just makes sense to me. The gas prices. I mean, the homelessness is ridiculous. It's ridiculous there. And California is very much in the way the middle class is moving out of California. They're very much creating a situation of the very rich and the very poor. And we have to have an honest look and ask ourselves, why is this not working? And if it's not working, why would we turn around and act like these these states, California and New York, should be leading the discussions in what what the country should be doing, what's popular, what's the trending, whatever. So, that's very important, and that's a very, very good comment or whatever. But so, people are it's funny. It's not funny. It's just interesting to find these things and see them playing out over time after we were very kind of like ahead of the curve and forward thinking and talking about these things. And even last year, one key thing that I kept talking about was this divide, right? This very distinct divide that was going to happen, where you have more people who want authority, they lust for it, and then you have more people wanting to be left alone, not seeking some authority figure to impose their will constantly and consistently on others. And it's unfortunate that a lot of this, so much of it has been pushed to become political. So much of it has been pushed to become polarizing, where it really shouldn't be like that. It really shouldn't be like that. Some of these principles should just be. They should just be with my medical decisions, what's being injected into my body being like one of the top ones. I just don't see in what type of America that's even like debatable. And that's not even accounting for whether you took the vaccine or didn't take the vaccine. The beautiful thing that is supposed to exist is that you have that choice there, and that choice also includes not being coerced everywhere you turn by your boss, your media, tech, government, now restaurants. So it's just super interesting to watch some of these things play out. But thank you for the super chat. That is all for tonight. Don't forget, you can get these really cool hoodies, unicorns, fairies, and AR-15s type of girl in my link in the description box below. Thank you to everyone that super chatted. Thank y'all. Make sure you get this video a thumbs up so it gets out further. If you're not subscribed to this channel, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. We will be talking soon. Thank you to my patrons. A special thank you to my VIP patrons. We're gonna kind of keep an eye on some of this stuff, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm very interested to see going forward how they're going to address this immigration thing, or if they even have any plans, any plans to address it. I mean, and to address it holistically, to be honest, because I just don't think we've seen that. I don't think we've seen that. But all right, y'all, have a good night. We'll talk soon. Bye.